जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयो श्रित्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। नमः श्रीयतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। वीरेश्वरानन्ददयामृताब्धिं श्रीरङ्गनाथं च विज्ञानभानुं चिदानन्दरूपः श्रीपुरुषोत्तमार्यं ध्यायन् हृदि स्थान् कृतिनं ह्यवैमि। Friends, I am extremely happy to be with you today for some time in connection with this International Yoga Conference bearing the title Yoga for All, organized by Utsahi Yoga Foundation, started and being presently taken care of by a great man from Karnataka, Sriman Lakshman Kumar Sannellapanavar. I know Mr. Lakshman Kumar Sannellapanavar, a legendary yoga expert since my Dharwad days. He was a regular visitor to Ramakrishna Ashrama Dharwad, where I was from 1993 to 1995. During this period of 2 years, both Sri Lakshman Kumar and his consort, Mother Shantakumari Sannellapanavar, Shantamma Lakshman Kumar Sannellapanavar, they in fact were the patrons of the ashrama, so to say, the virtual supporters who shoulder almost the whole responsibility of taking care of certain departments in Ramakrishna Ashrama. Very pious, very soft-natured, sublime-natured. Mother Shantamma was a unique lady, very good orator, but very, very humble. She was a filled pot. And both Mr. Lakshman Kumar and Shantamma were made for each other. Lakshman Kumar went from Dharwad to Moscow to spread yoga. He was there for some time, met people of Ramakrishna movement there in Moscow, had very good memories of his association with them all. And every time he would visit ashrama, he would recount all those experiences in a very joyous mood. Those were the golden days. I am so happy that Lakshman Kumar is still continuing his services for this great art of India, yoga, till today, and has been instrumental in bringing into existence this organization, Utsahi, in connection with which he has organized this yoga conference, where I have been invited to say a few words about a very important subject, Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is always a very relevant subject. Karma Yoga holds good for students, it holds good for householders, it holds good for vanaprasthas, it equally holds good for sannyasis also. Therefore, throughout Bhagavad Gita, the essence of Indian thought, Indian spiritual thought, Krishna in one or the other way goes on making reference to Karma Yoga. That too, in the first 5 chapters, Karma Yoga occupies a dominant position. Be it Jnana Yoga, be it Sankhya Yoga, be it Jnana Vijnana Yoga, Karma Sannyasa Yoga, even Dhyana Yoga, everywhere we see Karma Yoga being referred to, and Karma Yoga being emphasized. Not only it is referred to, it is emphasized. Reason is very obvious. It is impossible for anyone to be without karma, to be outside the pale of karma, as Krishna himself has in very definite terminology declared in Bhagavad Gita. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karma kritu. Even a single moment you cannot spend without doing one or the other karma. Sometimes we'll be doing karma in a gross way, sometimes in a subtle way, but in one or the other way, we'll be doing this karma. And therefore, Karma Yoga is always of universal relevance. It is not only of universal relevance, it is of eternal relevance also. It is something related for all. And for every individual, it is related all through one's life. But Gahana Karmano Gatihi, lot of subtleties and intricacies are involved in knowing what exactly is Karma Yoga. Karma, everybody does. Everybody does karma. But Karma Yoga is different from karma. Karma Yoga is a spiritual practice. When karma is done in a way it should be done, if it is done according to the lines of Karma Yoga, it becomes an outright spiritual practice. The beauty of Indian philosophy of life is that we never differentiated spirituality from workaday life, from everyday life. Spirituality is an integral part. Votascha protascha, the terminology used by Yajnavalkya in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Just as Atman pervades everywhere, Votascha protascha, yoga in one or the other way, either in revealed form or disguised form, it pervades everybody's life. As long as your desires are not fulfilled, remember, silently, without knowing of it, you are in pursuit of something infinite. Why a man can never honestly declare that all his desires have been fulfilled? It is impossible for a man to fulfill all his desires because he is in pursuit of finitude. Unless you are in pursuit of infinitude, your desires cannot be fulfilled. Unless you become spiritual, your desires cannot be fulfilled because pursuit of infinitude and spiritual life are one and the same. According to Vedanta, according to Mundaka Upanishad, Yo vai bhuma tat sukham na alpe sukham asti. Mediocrity is vehemently condemned all through Indian philosophy of life. The unique feature of Indian philosophy of life is harmony. There is harmony between reason and faith. There is harmony between meditation and dynamic life. There is harmony between calmness and dynamicity. There is harmony amongst various beliefs. Harmony, harmony, harmony. Everywhere we see that harmony so beautifully reflected, emphasized, revealed and demonstrated in the life of Sri Ramakrishna in modern times. Swami Vivekananda went on emphasizing on this Karma Yoga. If you go through the introductory note given by Sister Nivedita to the complete works of Swami Vivekananda, you will see Advaita and Karma Yoga have been equated by Swamiji according to Nivedita as she has written in the introductory note to the complete works. Battlefield is no different from meditation cell. What does it mean? Meditation cell is meant for meditation, where there is no action, stillness. Yoga, chitta vritti nirodha. Meditation, everything is brought to stillness. Your body is brought to stillness, mind is brought to stillness. You are one with the existence aspect of the Satchidananda. Unless you are one with the existence aspect, you cannot become one with the knowledge aspect of Satchidananda. And unless you become one with both the existence and knowledge aspects of Satchidananda, you can't be one with the Ananda aspect of Satchidananda. So therefore, the whole process commences with stillness. putting every action of you into stillness, actual, perfect, absolute stillness. But remember, the stillness of a person that is doing meditator, the stillness of a meditator is no superior to the activity of a man that is active. An active man achieves the same spiritual glory as a man that is absorbed in meditation. Only difference is the directions in which they are moving are different. Therefore, Swamiji very clearly puts, Swami Vivekananda very clearly puts, Atmano mokshartham jagadhitaicha. It can even be interpreted as Atmana, the moksha of an individual, and the Jagat Hita, the Hita of the universe, Hita of the world, are no two different things. You cannot be a totally liberated person if you are unconcerned with the welfare of the mankind outside. So that is Karma Yoga again. Karma Yoga rather forces itself into all other yogas in one way or the other. There are certain salient features we need to know about Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga's very definition, according to Swamiji, according to Vivekananda, is we know there are certain actions that lead us towards perfection, towards yogitvam. Meditation leads us towards yogitvam. Puja, worship, singing bhajans, they lead us towards perfection, infinitude, and going on analyzing about who am I. Kastvam koham kuta ayataha, kame janani kome tataha. Analyzing the notion that one has about one's own self, rejecting all notional dimensions, arriving at the truth of the truth about one's own self, which is the principal note in the music of Jnana Yoga, all lead us to infinitude, perfection. We know there are certain activities, certain actions that lead us towards yoga. Karma Yoga says, or Karma Yoga reveals to you how any action can be made such that it will lead you to yoga. How to convert any action that you are doing into a path towards yoga. Any action can become a path towards yoga. Any action, eating can become sparshan, prushan, astrujan, grundhan, Krishna puts it. Naiva kurvan nakarayan, while you are eating, while you are drinking. Whatever activity you may be involved in, how to convert it into a path towards perfection, towards fulfillment. The yogitvam, this is the essence of Karma Yoga. Here there are certain tips. Krishna mainly makes a mention about, touches upon while teaching Karma Yoga to Arjuna. Arjuna, Karma Yoga will not be that easy if you do not rightly choose the field of your activity. 99.99% of us, we the constituents of mankind, we fail here. That is why we can't enjoy our work. We can't enjoy our work field. 99.99% of people, we choose the field which is not to our liking. This has got tremendous scope, therefore you enter into that. Be an engineer. He is not interested in physics or technology or anything of that kind. But people say it has got tremendous scope. Scope means it has got the absorbing capacity. It can absorb you as an engineer and give you regular emoluments. Such a person cannot practice Karma Yoga easily. He too can practice. He cannot practice Karma Yoga easily. But there is a way whereby Karma Yoga becomes natural to you. You need not consciously practice it. You need not consciously practice Karma Yoga. Everything that you do should automatically become Karma Yoga. That can become so only when you choose the right field of your activity. Say, for example, I am so much interested in music that I lose myself while singing, while practicing my music. There are so many people in India who totally lose themselves. Lakshman Kumar would lose himself while practicing yogic asanas, postures, and I have seen. While he was professor in Dharwad University, yoga department. With what devotion he used to teach us all, the ashramites in Dharwad, about yogic postures. And Professor Arati, me, and all those people I remember. Because it was his cup of tea. That was the field that he took by choice, not by chance. He chose that. He did not get it by chance. He selected that. Always choose the right field of activity. Swadharme. Krishna uses this word, swadharma. That you lose yourself while working in that. Thomas Alva Edison used to lose himself while doing experiments in the laboratory. He never wanted to invent anything. He was so much interested in going on experimenting with the things that he had with him. Laboratory was his playground. For a great musician like M.S. Subbulakshmi, singing will become a sport. Nobody becomes strained, nobody becomes tiresome when he is doing some sport, when he is playing some sport. No mother will become ever tired when she is caressing or when she is taking care of her children, her beloved children. Dronacharya would never become tired. It would never be boring for him while teaching Arjuna. Sri Ramakrishna would never become tired while guiding his disciples about the spiritual practices and all that. Holy Mother will never become tired while taking care of her children, the sincere spiritual aspirants that would come to her now and then. Vivekananda would never become tired while exhorting his countrymen to manifest all the divinity that is there in them in potential form. Anything that you have chosen to your heart's liking, anything that you like from the bottom of your heart, anything that your nature is very much attracted towards will never tire you. Krishna lays this as the first condition for a person to be a karma yogi. When this is fulfilled, where is the question of you are setting your eyes on the fruit of your karma? Involvement of yourself in the work that interests you very much, that itself is a great enjoyment for you. When I am doing mathematics, I would not expect anything. That is all the joy that I want. Balagangadhar Tilak, a great freedom fighter of India, was once asked. He did not live to see India independent. He died much before 1947. One day, somebody asked Tilak, "Sir, as to what you would like to become after India gets its independence? You want to become president or prime minister?" Tilak gave a beautiful answer. "I would like to become neither president nor prime minister. Soon after India gets its independence, I will simply retire to my room and I will be working out differential calculus." He was so fond of differential calculus. A great mathematician he was, even though a great philosopher also he was. You have to go through the Gita Rahasya, written by, what a masterpiece about Bhagavad Gita, written by Balagangadhar Tilak. Vivekananda had highest appreciation for him. They were very close friends also. Swamiji was for some time a guest of Tilak too while he was in Pune, Deccan Club. Vivekananda went there and gave an address. So when something is to your liking, prime minister post, president post would not be as fascinating as working out differential calculus for a Tilak. Because that was his chosen field, the field of joy. No field will tire you up or tire you down. No field will be boring. No field will be very much mechanical, provided the field is such that you have chosen it properly. Krishna lays emphasis on this. Swadharme nidhanam shreya. You may die while working out your own natural tendencies, but never enter into the field that is not natural to you as far as your tendency, your liking is concerned. The second aspect that we have to bear in mind whenever we are into Karma Yoga is that never set your eyes on the fruit of your action. This is a very, very important thing. Most important aspect of Karma Yoga, equally misunderstood by so many people. Sir, how can one work at all if one doesn't have any sort of a motive? Most of the times, motive which is a bit selfish, at least where in that motive some self-interest is there. How can anyone work at all? Remember, Krishna gives an assurance. The least work done by you will never go without giving you the fruit that you deserve. Even the iota of the work that you do will not fail you. Every work has to bear its fruit. When work has to bear its fruit, why unnecessarily bother your head about that? Instead, you can pay all your attention on the work itself. Put your fullest attention on the work only. Why a part of your attention on the work and another part on the fruit? A part of your mind only is concentrated on the work aspect. Lose your heart and soul in the work at hand. Involve yourself totally in that. Forget about yourself. How many times people will lose themselves when they are doing something of their interest? So this involvement will automatically come. Whenever you involve yourself totally into your work, remember 75% of Karma Yoga is practiced by you. If you are doing anything half-heartedly, their Karma Yoga is not. When you are losing yourself in the work, total involvement, when you become forgetful of yourself, 75% of Karma Yoga is already achieved. This will happen only when you have chosen your own field of interest, not governed by any other parameter. Because your own field of interest will not resist you at all in any way. Vivekananda used to say, it is always wise to choose the line of least resistance. We must always work on the lines where we have no resistance at all. Karma Yoga wants you to swim in the direction of the current, not against the direction of the current, unlike Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga wants you to swim against the current. Paranchikhani Vetrunasvayambhu, remember, tendencies are outward as far as senses are concerned. But Jnana Yogi, Raja Yogi have to pull all these tendencies inward with an effort, which most of the time is very tedious, very strenuous, tiresome also. Karma Yoga is the Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga are not so. So, therefore, never bother about the fruit of the work. Why unnecessarily bother? It is guaranteed. It is always guaranteed. Vivekananda used to say, no force in this world can prevent you from getting what you deserve. What you deserve. Okay, even if you are given a chance to seek whatever you want as the result of the action that you have done, you are given all the freedom, the liberty to select the fruit of your action. You think you are wise enough to choose the right fruit for your action? What you may choose? Some material reward, some amount of money, some fame, some name, some standing, that is all. Had Draupadi chosen the fruit for the action that she did, while she tore off her sari and used it for tying the wounded finger of Krishna, if she were unwise, what would she have chosen? What would normally a lady would choose? Just another sari, another good sari, a new sari. But Draupadi did not set her eyes on the fruit of her action, and therefore fruit came in the manner that she never had dreamt of. And what a marvelous fruit she got. Therefore Krishna indirectly says, whenever you are doing any karma, don't be particular about for what purpose you are doing it. Don't be definite or particular about what result, what fruit you want of the karma that you are doing. Leave that fruit to me. I will be giving the right fruit at the right moment. When you are doing your work perfectly, I may not give you a material reward, but I make you more efficient. I make you more competent. I make you eminent. I make you a person in the highest demand. All other things that you have been wanting will automatically fall at your feet. This is the second aspect that Krishna emphasizes upon. The third is, of course, which is a bit difficult, always give up the thought that you are the doer. You are not the doer. You are Atman and your Aham is the doer. You are not your Aham. Your aham is your imposed self. The true self is inside, which doesn't do anything. And the elimination of the imposed aham, remember, is the greatest benefaction a human being can ever get. Thereby, he goes on manifesting the divinity that is there potentially in him. Elimination of the ego is the repository of all the glory that man is seeking in various ways. When you give up this notion of a doer, by degrees, this aham bhava, aham kartruhu, I am the doer bhava, will go on tapering, and one day it will be reduced to a zero. I am not doing anything. When you become established in the fact that you are not a kartru, then your mere sitting quiet will work out miracles. That is called sannidhya kartrutva. You are just present there, but you will be doing all the work. Great men, a Ramakrishna, a Mother, a Vivekananda, a Ramana Maharshi, be a Buddha. How much is being done in their name? So much is being done in their name, but they themselves are not doing. They did something during their lifetime. But today, if you look at their names, if you look at them, so much is being done in their names. Their names will work out miracles. Their bodies need not do anything at all. You will reach such a stage, Arjuna, Krishna says. All these beauties must be borne in mind whenever we are doing anything in our life. The result is that we will become least perturbed. We will never be disturbed by the ups and downs, by the vicissitudes. Sukha dukkhe same krutva, labha, alabha, jaya, ajayo, everything will vanish. You will not be interested in them also, because you will clearly understand that you are that infinitude. You are that infinity. Only you are not knowing about that. Now you come to know that you are that infinity. You go on realizing that infinite dimension in you. As you go on realizing the infinite dimension, as Swamiji used to say, power will come, purity will come, glory will come, goodness will come, everything that is excellent will come once the sleeping soul is roused to self-conscious activity. Rousing sleeping soul to self-conscious activity is nothing but making ourselves more and more aware of the true self that we are, that is, we are all infinite, we are only deluded into this finitude. This elimination, the removal of this finitude is the goal of any yoga, be it Karma Yoga, Raja Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, or Jnana Yoga. Lord bless you. Jai Ram Krishna. Thank you so much. ಎಷ್ಟೊತ್ತಾಯಿತು?